Hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Danielle and I hope you guys are doing well. Today I actually did a eyebrow tutorial for you guys. This was actually requested by a few people and I just want to say before we get into the video, if you have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments so I can make sure that I do them for you guys. I do take suggestions and I feel really good when people like send me messages or like tell me in person that they want to see a certain type of video. So please leave them down in the comments and I'll be sure to do them for you guys. Please also make sure that you are following me on Instagram. I have my Instagram across the screen now and also down below in the description box. And that is it. If you would like to see the eyebrow tutorial, please stay tuned and let's get into this video. Hey guys, so the three main points to focus on when creating great brows is 1, following the natural shape of your brow, 2, creating the gradient effect at the front of the brow, and 3, cleaning up the brow with concealer. To fill in my brows, I'll be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dipbrow Pomade in the shade Dark Brown. I'll also be using their dual-ended brush to apply the product. To clean up my brows, I'll be using the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Cool Tan, and I'll be using the Morphe M432 brush to apply it. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fill in our brows and we're going to be following the natural shape of our brows. So the first thing you want to do is dip your brush into the product. So the first thing I do before I fill in my brows is I brush them out using the spoolie. What I do to follow the natural shape of my brow is I look for the sparser areas of my brows and that's where I start to fill them in. So right under here is where I have very sparse areas, so that is usually where I start. And what I'm doing is creating stroke-like movements with the brush. I'm not going to create a stark line because I don't want the eyebrows to look boxy. I just want to make them look as natural as possible. So what I'm doing is just going wherever I feel like my brows are very sparse. When you get to the end of your eyebrow, you want to make sure that it is lining up with the end of your eye. So this is where your eyebrow should stop so that it lines up with the end of your eye. Okay, so a few things you want to remember. If it doesn't look exactly how you want it, that's fine, because you have to remember that we're going to clean up the brows with concealer towards the end. But for right now, I have the majority of my brow filled in. The next step that we're going to focus on is the front of the brow, and that is when we're going to be creating the gradient in the brow. And that just means that we're not going to have these dark block brows. We're going to make sure that it fades out in the front and then gets darker towards the end. So what I do in order to fill out the front of my brow is I just use the brush this way instead of this way. So I use it flat and I just go towards the front and I create those same strokes, but I'm using less product. And mind you, I'm not dipping back into my dip brow. I'm just using the remaining product that's on the brush. And creating strokes going upwards that way. Just mimicking the natural hairs of your brow. If you can see, my brows do go up. So that is what I do in order to mimic it. Once I reach the bottom, I kind of create a little bit of a line just to outline my eyebrows. So I do those same strokes and just create a little bit of a line. You can't really see it because we're trying to be as natural as possible. And then you just create those strokes for the front And then this is where I also try to fill in anything else for the rest of the brow. Okay, so for right now, the brow is fully filled in. What I'm going to do is take the spoolie end of the brush again. I'm just going to brush out the brows. And what we're doing is just carrying the product around to make sure that everything is blended nicely and we don't have, you know, product just built up everywhere. And again, don't worry about where the product is going because we are going to clean up with concealer. So once I'm done brushing out my brows, I go back to look and see if there's anything that needs to be filled in again, and I go back and fill it in. Okay, so the brow is completely filled in, and what I'm going to do now is clean up my brows with concealer. So I'm going to grab my concealer of choice. I'm just going to add a little bit on the back of my hand, like so, just a little bit. I'm going to take my concealer brush and I'm going to just dip around in the concealer. Not too hard, I'm really going really lightly because I don't want to like dunk it in there and have too much concealer on my brush. So just dip a little bit, and I'm gonna take some off just like this. Just take a little bit and just move it farther away from the concealer. So now I have enough on my brush, and I'm going to go to my brow. When you're going to do this step, it's really important that you take your time and you have a light hand so that you're not putting too much concealer on your brow and then you don't know how to clean it up. It's better to start with a little bit of product and then add as you go on. So we're going to start with the brush under the brow. And what I do is just start from the front, creating a very thin, light line. When you get to the arch of the brow, it's very important that you take your time and kind of curve the brush. So you're going to see a little bit of product going under instead of just that thin line that we're doing, because you are curving the brush. So take your time. Now you have that line under your brows. So we're going to just now pull the product down from the brows. And essentially what you are doing is just moving most of that product away so that when you go in to blend the concealer under your brow, you're not using too much and then making the mistake of like getting it actually into the brow that you just created. So just move it down. And you're also cleaning off the brush, moving some of that product so you're not, you know, using too much product. Now what I like to do is just clean up that line a little bit because it might be crooked. Mine is definitely crooked. So now that we have brought the concealer down with the brush, we're actually going to take our finger and bring that concealer down some more. And what this is doing is just blending out that product so you do not have harsh lines under your brow. What you do with that line, very gently, because you don't want to mess up the brows, just go towards that line, raise your eyebrow, and just move that product down. As you go on and practice your brows, you might realize that your finger isn't the best tool for you to use. Maybe you're more comfortable using a brush to do this. I'm more comfortable using my finger. So if you want to try that out first, that's definitely an option. But some things work for some people and some things don't. So if a brush works better for you, then you can use that. Okay, so as you can see, there is no harsh lines going on under the brow. It looks very neat under there. Now we are gonna go ahead and conceal the top of the brow. And I feel like we have a lot of problems with this because it's really hard to keep your hand steady. So the brows might look a little shaky or something like that because you really have to concentrate when it's at the top of your brow. So I still have the concealer on my hand. I'm gonna dip back in. And I'm gonna take a little bit off. And also what I like to do, tap my brush on my forehead just to get off some more product. Like I said, it is better that we have less product so that we can go in and add some more instead of having more product and mess up our brows and don't really know how to fix it with all that product on it. So what I like to do, make sure your hand is ready. You have your brush facing down this way. And you're going to start from the top here and make a line. And what I like to do is just be a little bit away from the brow. So we're not gonna go straight onto the brow, like straight against the brow. We're gonna move a little bit away from it so that we can get closer as we go. So as you can see, I'm not really on top of the brow yet. I'm not really against it. I'm just a little bit away from it, just so we're safe. And I'll just get a little bit closer as I go. Move some of that product because I feel like I have a little bit too much at the front. Move some of that up. And just go. I feel like I'm going a little bit fast, but take your time. Take your time, learn the arch of your brows, and then you'll notice as you keep practicing, you'll get a little bit faster. So I'm just gonna keep going closer and closer to my brow. And then right here, you wanna take your time because it is the arch. Okay, so we have the line on, and what I like to do with the front, just go a little bit outwards, a little bit further out. Take your time and clean up that line. So what I like to do now is I'm gonna do the same thing that I did on the bottom with the brush, and I'm gonna move the product up. Move it away from the brow. So with this end of your eyebrow, what I do is just cut it off a little bit. Just take your time, cut it off, and then take your finger. Just make sure it doesn't look so harsh. For the top of the brow, we're gonna do the same thing as we did with the bottom and use your fingers to just blend it out. Take your time when you're going towards the brow. Okay, so as you can see, at the front of the brow, it looks very square. We do not want square brows. So something that I usually do is I take that concealer that's right there, and you don't want to go very hard on your brows because you don't want to wipe everything off, but I'm just going to move it down and move the concealer from the bottom up, just so that is not so square. It looks more like a gradient. It looks very natural. And that's your brows. And that's that on that. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna just speed through it a little bit. I'm not gonna go too fast because I do want you guys to be able to follow. But that is how it looks, and I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. And that is it for the eyebrow tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it was really easy to follow. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below, and also let me know what you think. Please make sure that you subscribe and that you turn your post notifications on so that you do not miss another video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.